Welcome to another video of GeoSpinach. Today we're going to talk about how to break out in a military operation when you are about to get encircled and how to deal with it. We're going to start with a failed example and then using Kreigsspiel or war games. Of course, we're not going to use the mythology of Moltke the Elder, but a more simplified form. We're going to start with a failed example. So, starting with a failed example, we have a situation such as this, where we have the red team and the black team. The black team had attack on the south over here, and they got surprised in the north by a counteroffensive, which inevitably will lead to their demise. The battle develops in this format, and gradually the black forces get encircled completely. They are unable to respond, and as a result, they're getting completely decimated. Now, what we're going to look today is using our examples of our war science series to apply the methodology we learned. So pre-existing supply positions, concentration of force, defeating in detail, and so forth, and using a war game example to illustrate how you can deal with an encirclement. Now, before we start, let's analyze what we see here on the map. In the center, you can observe the city. And on the sides, you can observe mountainside hills. So over here and over here, the cities are over here. You can also observe that there have been stored supplies prior over here, 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 and so forth. And one very, very important topic that we always mention in this channel is the fog of war. You don't know what's happening on the other side. So the black team currently does not see these guys over here. So they are not aware of the upcoming assault. And in this war game, in contrast to all the others we did up to now, we are only going to see the actions of only the one side. I'm going to make a different video showing the rationale behind the attack of the red team. We assume that both of them are logical, but they're using different schools of thought. Now, in this case, the Reds are launching an assault, breaking the enemy line completely. This results to an encirclement in the center, as well as a very volatile position over here on the western part of the front. Now, how can the black team deal with this situation? And this is the tricky part. How do you deal with a possible breakout when you know that your forces will eventually get encircled and so forth? Well, the most important thing is to delay and reduce the concentration of force of the enemy as much as possible. You achieve that by anchoring your defense in these pre-existing good defensive positions, such as here, 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 and here. Then you can utilize the terrain to your own advantage, such as this, this, and this, and then start concentrating your forces. Now, the plan of the black team is as we'll explain. So they will gradually retreat some of their mobile forces further to the west in the first stage to deal with a breakout. Let's not ignore the fact that they currently do not know what's happening over here. They know that there are some troops over here, armored and mechanized troops. They know that they are here, but they don't really know the extent of their strength. The same applies though for the red team. Now, the idea is to gradually move away their stronger armor units outside of the possible pocket, and at the same time sacrificing or at least using their stronger infantry and their general infantry brigades to delay the enemy by utilizing the strong points we mentioned prior. At the same time, the units here are retreating to the better position, and gradually reinforcements are coming in. By the way, reinforcements are coming in from the other side as well, but you don't see them at the moment. And gradually start creating some concentration of force. Concentration of force is very vital. The reason concentration of force is very vital is because you must always be counter-attacking the enemy. So you should always keep the enemy on their toes, even if you are getting attacked. And in this situation, the black team has managed to bring some very small amount of reserves over here, utilize the mountain sides were well supplied over here. Their forces in the city are holding strong. Here they allowed themselves to be encircled, but now they know that their forces on their west, so over here, are quite overextended. They also managed to create a small concentration of force over here hidden from the sides of the enemy, which they will use to counterattack just to force troops of the enemy to move and deal with that situation. And at the same time, the retreat is going very slowly to try to get away from the pocket. Let's remember, as we mentioned in the video of retreat, it takes quite a lot of time to actually conduct the retreat. It's a very, very hard operation, and even if you like it or not, sacrifices will be made. In this instance, it allows 2 units, 2 brigades to be encircled, as well as one over here and one over here, so 4 brigades in total, which are in theory well supplied, using very well dug in defenses. And thus it forces the enemy to pin down quite a lot of forces. So currently the black team has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units encircled, and at the same time it's tiding down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and a half or so brigades of the enemy. So utilizing those defenses delays the enemy's assaults massively and reduces their offensive capability. At the same time, here, for example, the mechanized acts as a reserve, and it knows it deals with armor, so it knows inevitably it will lose. And with the blue markers, you can see the damage that the unit receives, but it stays there as much as it can to be able to delay and allow its armor to live. At the same time, the black team plans for a possible attack. Now, reinforcements are coming in for the red team, as you can see over here, but the black team does not know this. The idea for the black team for this moment is to launch a preemptive counterattack over here. They don't have the time to plan a long attack, but the idea is to keep the enemy on its toes, utilizing the well-supplied units within the pocket to support the attack, as well as from this encirclement over here, and with the small troops concentration in the north. The idea is never to allow the enemy to be on it. You have to force the enemy on its toes. At the same time, they will try to hold the positions here and here, while they allow the remaining of their strong forces armor to retreat. As you can observe, their armor did receive quite few casualties in their attempt to retreat. At the same time, they are losing the battle over here, but that's pretty much okay, because that's part of the plan. Inevitably, you're going to receive more losses. Also, they are launching diversary attacks over here and over here, even if they do not know what they are going to encounter on the other side, mainly because, again, you have to keep the enemy on the toe. Since you know that an encirclement is coming, and up to this point the black team is aware of this, its most important thing is to get away your forces that have the biggest breakthrough capability and allow your forces, your infantry in this case, which can fight very effectively in cities, to utilize those cities for defense and then use your armor for further counterattack. So as this plan gets executed, we come to a situation like this. The enemy has managed to break through completely over here, but again the black team holds in that positions and is breaking in the south. So at this point, the black team knows that they're going to get encircled and they will not be able to move more forces away. But they did manage to get away their 3 armor brigades, which is very, very important. At the same time, their small counterattack has managed to break a small encirclement over here and has exposed the flanks of the enemy. At the same time, on the northern front, the flanks are very exposed. Now, the black team does not know this. The black team doesn't know what's over here. They assume that the enemy will have forces here, but the idea for them is to attack on that direction, and the main point is to attack just if there is the case that there are no forces there, then to exploit the situation. The red team was not expecting that concentration immediate counterattack, and that gives them to a very volatile position. At the same time, the encircle units over here, here, and here are delaying the enemy massively. So, because they are delaying the enemy massively, the logistical supplies of the enemy, of the red team in this case, are getting stacked. So, they can't pass through over here and they have to go over here. Again, they're getting stacked over here. And again, they're getting stacked over here. And the situation over here starts to become quite tedious. So their supplies of their units that I'm circling right now are dwindling. At the same time, their own forces, so here the forces over here, are well supplied because they managed to retreat and they're gradually receiving more and more supplies. Now, as this develops, the appropriate plan now for the red team, for the black team, is to launch a general big attack here in the north on the unknown, just for the case of an exploitation, try to eliminate the forces over here, at the same time continue the counteroffensive over here, even if it doesn't gain them ground, just to put pressure and force units away from here, and at the same time again recreate a concentration of force over here and over here, and then tactically create some good defensive position barriers because we don't know how the battle will develop. Within the upcoming pocket, you know that you have to understand, any officer has to understand that the situation on the battlefield, what they can observe, and what they can observe is that the possibility for them to be able to maintain this pocket of this opening, let's say, is quite low, so they have to retreat within the city. So they will use their remaining armor within the city with their remaining supplies to bring it to the north part of the city to be used later on as an exploitation. Again, they are moving into the unknown, but trying to hold off open terrain positions without knowing the true strength of the enemy will inevitably lead you to your demise. At the same time, they're conducting a small operation to free the units over here because they know that there are no many enemies here and that the enemy will eventually have to bring reinforcements here in the north. Now, as the battle continues, the red team has managed to achieve what we called in the Russian School of War a double encirclement. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. This is the first one, and this is the second one here. Now, the concept of Tukhachevsky's or Zhukov applied double is to create one encirclement and then a dual one that if the enemy breaks the second one, then you will have time to deal with the breaking of the first one. But in this instance, the encirclement of the red team is partially incomplete, mainly because of the breakthrough here in the north and most especially over here. The red team is not aware of the concentration of the force, and the black team is quite surprised the fact that they didn't encounter much resistance. And at the same time, their forces within the pocket have managed to concentrate in quite good way, as well within the city, as well as the western part of the city. So the plan now for the black team is to reconnect with the encircled troops. Again, they kind of abandon the troops over here and over here, knowingly because it delays the enemy as much as possible. And they're attacking all along the front, not to break the line all across the front, but to masquerade where their true attack is coming from. So their true attack is coming from here, mainly here and here. And that's the idea, to attack from all the sides and utilize the thing and keep the enemies on the toes. As the battle progresses, we come to a situation like this, where the outer layers have been broken through. The red team was overexposed, so they managed to capture a whole brigade and it's close to annihilation. They also lost quite few units, the red team, but now the black team is aware that the red team, the red army, let's call it, has quite strong reinforcements on the east over here. Now, since they are aware of this, but they are really close to breaking the encirclement, the only remaining thing for them to do is to concentrate force. Now, since the red team knows that the black team is going to concentrate force, the way you do it is use a huge portion of your strong forces, in this case those two brigades, as well as this through, so 4 mechanized and armored brigades, as well as 4 other infantry and mechanized brigades to attack your actual breaking point, and at the same time move all of your remaining attacks on a secondary objective, so a secondary breaking point, and create a diversionary, or what we call probing attacks over here and over here and over here to force the enemy to move their troops over there while you attack to your actual position. So you divert your force, you're forcing the enemy to be overextended. And again, the enemy's supplies are dwindling quite a lot since their pocket is very limited, so they are barely being able to get supplies, while now the black team, the forces outside the encirclement, are in a position to get good supplies. So as the battle progressed, they managed to actually push through of the encirclement and actually reconnect with their forces and over here. Now, the battle at this point is partially over. They managed to reconnect with their forces. They are holding good defensive positions using the hills and the mountains over here and over here. At the same time, in the previous operation, they retreated to a better defensive position over the river because they were expecting a counterattack, even if that counterattack didn't come. The idea we talked in the other video that you should always be aware of the possible strength of the enemy, so always hold good positions and act preemptively. At the same time, they will try to strike over here to close down the pocket and recreate a better defensive positions. And then, because their forces by this point are massively wear down, so they receive quite heavy casualties, as you can observe with the blue dots on each different unit, they're going to divert them across the front line to recreate it. And then we come to a last situation such as this, where both sides have kind of exhausted themselves completely, they are completely wear off, and they are unable to continue their offensives, but still the black team has managed to avoid the disaster and break out. And this is how you deal with a breakout. Now, this is just a war game example, as we're going to do mainly examples, and the main principle is to teach you the fundamentals of how the mechanics of war work. Thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, or if you have any recommendations, please don't be afraid to ask. If you want me to give more details on my videos in regards to how the battle is conducted, again, I'm happy to oblige. Thank you again for watching.